It's Turkey Day, and you know what that means. It means tomorrow is the biggest sale in displate history. Displates are awesome to display, but they are not so awesome as plates. You gotta pay more attention to the first part of the name, you know? But hey, they're all on the biggest sale they've ever have been today. So be sure you go do that, and make sure to use the coupon code on screen. Look at Pikachu here. Look how much he loves this. It's so delicious. And by using my link in the description, if you make any purchase after clicking that link, you'll be directly supporting this channel. So thanks a bunch for checking them out, and thanks a bunch to Displate for sponsoring this video. Normal type Pokemon. Some of them are cute, some of them are, well, they're boring. And honestly, most of them are a little bit of both. But here's a thought, a query, an interesting question. What if there was no normal type? What would there be instead? Or rather, what types would the currently normal type Pokemon become? And how would the world of Pokemon change? Well, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today on Noggin. The normal type is, interesting? Question mark? It's sort of weak, and for good reasons. It's normal type. It's basically the baseline to judge all the other types against. I mean, it's the second most common type of Pokemon, only beaten by water type, but that honestly makes sense. The ocean is huge. Honestly, we still need more fish Pokemon. Now, first of all, honestly, I feel that if normal was never a type in Pokemon to begin with, we'd for sure have some other new type to sort of fill in the gaps. Something like a void type. Typeless, which I guess normal sort of is, but normal still has its strengths and weaknesses. As it stands, normal is tied with electric for the least amount of things to resist its attacks, and normal versus ghost is interesting as they are both immune to each other. Normal's biggest weakness is fighting type attacks. It's pretty easy to beat up a plain thing, and this is actually where the meta and existence of normal types really matters. I mean, if you just got rid of a tenth of the cast that fighting was good against, suddenly fighting type Pokemon aren't as good anymore. Especially considering that most of the birds are normal flying type. Remove normal and now they're just flying. Flying resists fighting type attacks, but now they're all normal. Opposite of that, now they're all just flying. So suddenly all these Pokemon that fighting type used to be decent at because the two types would counter each other out and make just a punch be a punch. Now the birds dodge because they're flying. That's why fighting is weak to flying. Have you ever tried to punch a bird? But now, suddenly, not only do fighting type Pokemon have even fewer Pokemon they are good against, but those same Pokemon resist them and are super effective against them. It's a big nerf to our punchy kickers. And that still happens if we replace the normal type with totally neutral typeless type. Or finally introduce the fan favorite, sound type. I mean, honestly, if normal wasn't a type, we would for sure have gotten sound added by now. I mean, there's Loudred. Come on! When the fairy type was added, a good number of previously normal type Pokemon lost their normal type in favor of fairy. So I'm sure the same thing would happen with sound. I mean, there's like Exploud. But how's about no more dilly-dallying with the meta stuff? Let's talk actual Pokemon, the fun part of the video. What would we change the normal Pokemon into if normal was to be removed? Well, first off, we can just say that all of the dual-typed normal Pokemon just become their second type. Like, oh man, that is a lot of just flying Pokemon. But like, Pyroar would be Mono Fire. Why was it even normal to begin with? Drampa would be Mono Dragon, etc. So for starters, let's group up the changed Pokemon into what we would change them into. Starting with the most common, I feel, normal type Pokemon who would become ground type. These Pokemon are already similar to other ground types. They may have tough hides, live in the lowlands, dig or burrow into the ground. You know, the things that animals on the ground tend to do. So, in this category we have Rattata, Raticate, Watchog, Patrat, Yungoos, Kangaskhan, Tauros, Miltank, Bouffalant, Sentret, Furret, Zigzagoon, Linoone, Bunnelby, who evolves into a ground type already, so like, come on, Baneri, Wapuni, Mincino, and Cincino. I mean, they're chinchilla Pokemon. They bathe in dust. Stantler may be ground, but I guess I could see grass a bit if they wanted to go that route, as it's similar to Sawsbuck. And then there are Pokemon like Persian and Meowth, and maybe Ursaring. I could see them all as Dark-type Pokemon. I mean, Alolan, Meowth, and Persian already are because they act like spoiled, mean cats. So let's just carry that trait over. And Ursaring is a big, mean grizzly bear. Grizzlies are extremely territorial and protective of their babies and will maul whatever they see as a threat, which could be seen as a dark-type thing. Plus, you know, Ursaring, Teddy Ursa, the whole moon bear thing. It's nighttime. Then we have some normal Pokemon who would become fighting type, some of them more obvious than others, like Lopunny again. Its Mega is already fighting for good reason, so let's just extend that. It's ground fighting. Gumshoes could also be ground fighting, or even just fighting, as it's all about that gumshoe justice. It's the same reason the Swords of Justice are fighting type, despite not really being about punches and chokeholds. And with that same logic, let's extend that into Stoutland, Lillipup, and Herdier for their fierce loyalty and sense of justice. Can't get it, it's sense of justice cause smell. Ambipom and Apom have massive fists for tails, so it just feels right. Zangoose could go here also, perhaps a fighting dark type. Mongoose are pretty violent. And it just looks mean, doesn't it? Then I could also see Ursaring and Teddy Ursa being here too. Fighting. They are bears, which are crazy strong. And there's the whole, I trained my fighting skills against a grizzly bear thing. So they trained their fighting skills against people because it's funny to be reversed. Slaking, Vigoroth, and Slackoth are also pretty tough. So fighting might fit, but maybe only the middle one. Maybe as just one of their types also. Or maybe add Dark in there because they sleep a lot. Sloth is a deadly sin after all. Maybe Slacking gets pretty vengeful about being woken up. Bidoof could be ground, but I think just switching it to water to match its evolution is fine. It's a beaver. Kamala could easily be grass type because it's actually the log. The koala is the decoy. Ah, funny joke. But really though, grass type. It lives in trees all the time. It is a master of trees. And it attacks with its log too. Hashtag Team Trees. Porygon, Porygon 2, and Porygon Z are good candidates for the electric type. They are made up of literal ones and zeros in a computer. You know what those ones and zeros are? Whether or not a transistor has electricity in it or not. These Pokemon are literally electricity. Plus physical life. So, electric for sure. I don't know why they aren't electric to begin with. Now, if you really don't want to add the sound type for Exploud, Whismur, and Loudred, I guess we could make them steel type. Besides normal, the steel type also has a few sound-based moves, and plus, Exploud is pipe organs, which are made of metal. And come to think of it, I could also see Zangoose here. It's got those crazy sharp claws, but no, that would make its rivalry with Seviper extremely one-sided. Kecleon, if not normal, would be psychic type. Think about it, it uses mind powers to make you think it's not there. Basically, it's an illusionist, but with real powers. Easy. Zavinda, though, is much harder to retype. Possibly ground. Maybe fighting, since it's comically fighting like a drunken master. But realistically, I feel psychic. Psychic would work out, as it's all about the spirals and making others dizzy with its movements and dizzy punch. Plus, what's more classic to hypnotism than spinning spirals of mesmerization? Dunsparce is another good one, but actually I feel like it could rep the dragon type. It is a legendary creature based off of a snake that can roll out at maximum speed and even double jump. And on top of that, or instead of that, it could be poison type. Again, because of the thing it's based on, the Tsuchinoko. It's extremely venomous. We got a whole video about it here. Cast form could lose its form system and just be 4 different Pokemon with their different types, or its base form could be just flying type. I mean, it's a cloud. But that would make its tornado form kinda useless, but, it is what it is. Lickitung and Licky Licky are 2 rather odd Pokemon. Did you know that they can't lick each other as it stands? Lick is a ghost type move, and they are normal type. How sad. I could see poison because of how gross licking is. Plus, there are plenty of reptiles with venomous saliva. I guess I could also see fairy type because they love food and are pink. A very good reason to make a Pokemon fairy. But there's also the fact that it's partially based off of a yokai that likes to lick bathhouses clean. Yuck. So, fairy and or poison would really fit. Furfrou, fairy, I guess, as it's into fashion. It's into fashion, and pink is a color. And it has pink as a fashionable color. I don't know, man. It's a dog. Normal fits it so well. Other now fairy types include all of the pink and cutemon, so Skitty and Delicatty, as well as Blissey and Chansey. I'm unsure why Blissey isn't already fairy type really. Audino would also be sound if it were added, but otherwise fairy, because it's kind, caring, and full of heals and buffs. Eevee though, Eevee is another really good normal type. So it'd be typeless if that was a thing. Maybe ground, but like a super, super weak ground, so nobody can actually use it as a ground type properly. Here's another odd one. It's Smeargle. It kind of stumped me for a bit. Maybe if we look at its moves, we could figure out what type of move it uses most. Oh, wait, never mind. It's all sketch. Maybe water type, as it creates fluid from its tail to mark its territory and paint with and stuff. This one's really tough. I mean, maybe if it was like based on a yokai or a fey creature of some kind, it could be fairy, but no! There isn't much for it. So water because paint is a liquid, I guess. Oh man, and I was dreading this one too. Munchlax and Snorlax, where do we start? Normal seems like the best, as there really isn't a fat and sleeps around type. Though there would be more than one Pokemon in that type, I suppose. So Snorlax is a bear-cat thing that seems to love to eat, even if it's poisonous. Not kidding. This thing loves food so much that its stomach is said to be incredibly strong. Even Muck's poison is nothing more than a hint of spice on Snorlax's tongue. So either it's immune to poison, or it resists poison to a point where it can't be hurt. So, Steel type because it's immune to poison, and it's heavy. And metal is heavy. That's bad. Maybe because it eats so much gross stuff, it gets poisonous burps, kind of like Swalot. Or maybe it could be ground, because it sleeps on the ground, and thus becomes one with the ground. Regigigas, I have to go with fighting ground again, or even just fighting, as that would make it strong against all of the other Regis, which is perfect because it's the Master Regi. Plus its move pool already has a rather good list of fighting type moves. And the ground is there because the whole thing about it pushing and pulling the continents around when the world was being formed, you know? Arceus, Type Null, and Silvally are difficult too, and honestly I feel like the existence of Type Null justifies a typeless type. I figured that's what they were doing before its type was officially revealed. These Pokemon all have the gimmick of changing their type to match the item you give them, so I guess you could say that they can't not have an item. They need to be one of the other types. If you try to just remove the item instead of swapping it, you just can't. Otherwise, maybe Psychic or Fairy as a default. They are magical legendaries, and those types seem to fit that criteria for magical legendaries. And finally, we have another hard Pokemon to place. It's Ditto. Again, typeless, if that were allowed to be a thing, but otherwise, Psychic could work here too, as illusions again. Maybe it takes a lot of psychic potential to be aware of all the cells in your body are and where to move them. A lot of psychic energy needs to flow into the other Pokemon's brain and read its genetics to like come back and transform into that. Fairy could also work because there's plenty of fey creatures that love to shapeshift. It's quite the magical ability. Oh man, Pokemon Sword and Shield comes out in like a week. There's going to be more normal Pokemon. Sounds like a problem for future me. Hey, it's future Lockstin. I guess still past Lockstin for you, but not as past Lockstin as that guy. Whew. But Gen 8 is out now, so we've got new normies to look at. First up, let's cover the slight changes to Zigzagoon and Linoone. They keep their normal typing, but gain dark. This really isn't all that interesting, but the dark type is a reference to their crazy and erratic behavior. They are little punks. They're cute, little punky dudes. And then there's the new evolution, Obstagoon, the biggest of obstacles. Normal, dark. Normal dark is kind of an odd typing, honestly. Especially when you think of dark as more of an evil or not nice type. Oh yeah, this guy, he's normal, he's everyday, but he's got a dark side. So exactly a punk, I suppose. But if there were no normal type, I don't feel like pure dark would work for these guys either. It would need something that keeps it grounded in society. Okay, I really just wanted to say grounded because it's a badger, after all. Badgers dig. They dig. Dig, dig, dig. Badger. Other normal types in Gen 8 are surprisingly not the birds. For once, Game Freak didn't make the bird a normal type. Hallelujah! But Squava and Greedent, both mononormal. And again, ground seems like a good replacement. Possibly with Greedent being dark type, because it's very greedy. Ground dark, greedy's a bad thing. And again, ground squirrel thing. Easy peasy? Next up is Indeedee. Both male and female are normal psychic. An interesting type combo. Extremely powerful of the mind, but also kind of commonplace. However, I don't think these Pokemon are the supercomputers of brain power. No, they are psychic because of their professions. These Pokemon are always seen helping people. I mean, they are based on butlers and maids after all, and the psychic typing comes into play specifically for this. They use their horns to talk or feel emotions or transfer thoughts between each other. The emotion part is very psychic, but I feel like they might be able to lose their normal type entirely to either be mono-psychic or maybe psychic fairy secondarily, but mono-psychic works better, IMO. Another surprise with this gen is that there actually aren't that many normal types, and I'm kind of happy about that, but we did save the least for last. Wait, no, it's good. I love it. Wooloo. Heck, the whole internet loves this thing, and boy, does Hop love his. However, mono-normal type again is pretty hard to retype as it's pretty basic. It's a sheep, goat, ram thingy, and double doesn't make things any easier. It's also mono-normal, and it's not gonna be all that easy to imagine a world without it because it's just so good. However, I'm gonna throw you a curveball. I'm gonna say that if normal type didn't exist, this would be steel type, both of them. Their wool is stronger than you'd think. Plus, according to the Pokedex, they can fall off of a cliff and stand back up unharmed. They really bounce back. It also states that if you make a carpet out of their wool, it's as bouncy as a trampoline. It really puts a spring in your step, and springs are metal. Also, steel wool is a thing, and these sheep are tanks already. So, steel type. Really, really durable as heck wool. Yeah. So there you have it. That was future Lockstin. If normal type wasn't a typing, that's what I'd retype all of the normal type Pokemon as. But honestly, I wouldn't want normal type to be removed. You need a baseline to compare things to. If everyone is a superhero, then no one is. The villain of The Incredibles was actually onto something. Too bad he had bad hair. So even if some folks find normal Pokemon boring, well, that's sort of the point of them. So Game Freak succeeded at their doings. Yay. But would you change any of the choices I made? Let me know down below, and until next time, never, ever, ever stop using your noggin.